OK, well, Arsenal host Manchester United. United are riding a new manager bounce after that Manchester derby win over City, whilst Arsenal will be laser-focused on maintaining their 7-point lead at the top of the table. It's a fixture that's delivered drama, intense rivalry and grudges throughout Premier League history.
Is this to be their year after a 22-year wait? Are we watching the champions?
Odegaard urged to shoot and does!
Arsenal take the lead! That's how you do it!
It's Declan Rice and it's 2-1 to Arsenal.
Now, Arsenal are ready to claim this as their year. This Arsenal team are ready to show they are the real thing. Club that is trying to recapture their DNA, looking to steady the ship. Brian Mbumo at the Stretford end! Manchester United lead in the derby! This 2-goal lead could be everything for Manchester United. A scene of satisfaction on a day when Manchester feels red. Two colossal clubs meet in North London. Arsenal against Manchester United.
Well, ahead of this highly anticipated clash at the Emirates, let's hear from both managers, starting with Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, well, obviously, Michael coming in is going to bring new ideas. Always the intensity rises up. You could see in the derby in Manchester the kind of behaviours and the game that they played. So, yeah, we expect a really tough match. We will adapt to that for sure, but we are at home and we know how important that game is for us.
Credit to Arsenal, you know, they're in a really strong place at the moment and they've built the squad and the group, and Mikel takes a lot of credit for that. He's done a fantastic job, and I think we've got our own ideas as well of what we need to do and what it's going to take to get there, and that's what we'll keep working towards.
Plenty of respect between the two managers. They, of course, met when Michael Carrick was in the job a few years ago. He and United took all 3 points. But let's start with Arsenal. The big question on many fans' minds is, who does Mikel Arteta start with up front? Of course, both Gyökeres and Gabby Jesus scoring in their midweek game against Inter Milan. I'll come to the striker first.
No, I mean, Gabby Jesus, I love him. I've always liked him as a player. You know, like Havertz, you know. And Gyökeres is a goal scorer. It's not happened for him this season for whatever reason. You know, he missed the pre-season. I think that's a big factor. Yeah. I think people don't realise, you know, to try and hit the ground running. But Jesus, I think he's got that know-how in terms of playing in big games. Obviously, at City, won the league numerous times. You know, seems to be sharp again. You know, the 2 goals overnight. But I don't know.
The good thing is you've got 3 very different profiles there.
Yes.
Gyökeres is more the traditional number 9. Gabriel Jesus is more of a false 9 because he likes to drop a lot, link up to the play, so good technically, better than Gyökeres. And Havertz is probably a bit of a mix of the two. Havertz is not fully fit now anyway to start a game like this and play enough. So it's really Gyökeres or Gabriel Jesus. It could depend on how the opposition is going to play. Yeah. And if you face a low block, if there's space for Gyökeres to run into, because he's probably be better for that with his power. But I think for a game like this, for me, Gabriel Jesus would be better suited, because I think without being too deep and too low, United will still have that block where they won't give you much space to run into, as we saw against City. And for that, Jesus is probably better.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. It seemed like Martinez and Maguire did a really good job at containing the likes of Erling Haaland. So when you look at the other forwards that Arsenal have got, who else can try and cause some damage against a Manchester United side that's full of confidence?
I don't know, I mean, you speak about the forwards, but it's not just the forwards, it's the team, it's how you set up. And you speak about how they approach it, United. I mean, if they do sit off, then I agree with what you're saying about, you know, you want a number 9 that's going to come and link play and get involved. Yeah. I think, you know, when you're more dynamic and that, you need grass in behind, you need to run in behind. But it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an interesting game. Be interested to see who he picks. But yeah, I mean, Man United obviously got a little bit of momentum at the minute from the game, but I don't think you can get carried away. But it'd be interesting to see how they approach it.
A player that's come under increasing scrutiny for Arsenal is their star man, Bukayo Saka, because it's no goals and just 2 assists in his last 8 in the Premier League, we've got to say, because it's completely different stats in every other competition they're fighting on those fronts in. So, Julian, why do you think it's not translating to the league?
I don't know. I think the injury at the start of the season probably slowed him down a little bit. All the fitness that you work through in the pre-season to be ready for the season, and then if it's early, you've got that injury that kind of stop you in your stride a little bit. This is also a team that maybe had more input on the left-hand side this season because Trossard has been really good, to be fair. Yeah. And apart from set pieces, it looks like Bukayo maybe is not as sharp, maybe not as decisive in the league that they would like him to be. It's a team that works a lot with their wide players and their wingers. The ball goes wide very, very quickly a lot. So if they don't really work out in one-on-one situations or their crosses, then Arsenal have a bit of a problem. That probably explains why, as we saw with the stats, those forwards haven't been really scoring as much goals or as many goals as we would have thought.
Is it becoming a bit predictable with Arsenal? Because
so.
Julian just pointed to the fact that most of their attacks are coming from the wings.
I think when you play against a block, whether that's a medium block or low block, you have to try and move the block. So, you know, we spoke before and I said there's 3 ways to beat the block. You're going to go over the block, which is difficult, but you still can try at times. Go around is what Arsenal do, but I don't think they go through enough. And maybe if they went through the block more, then Saka can run off the ball. Instead of always getting it to feet and having to beat people and create something and, you know, come inside like he does and hit shots. You know, I think if they can try and play through more, with those good players that they get in those number 10 positions, then maybe he can run off the ball more, which... Because I think those chances come easier. When you're running onto chances, it's a lot easier than getting the ball and beating someone and actually score at the end of it. It's difficult. So I just feel like they need to mix it up more.
Are you in agreement?
Yeah, completely. And Saka depends a lot on Odegaard. You know, especially with Timber, that triangle there on the right-hand side is key, even for Bukayo to get the ball in the right areas, in the right condition. If Odegaard is a bit off it, like, to be fair, he's been most of this season and including last season as well, then I think for Saka, he's not put in the best situations, if you want, than if Odegaard is on top of it like they were together 2 seasons ago. So it's all that collective sharpness to find a little bit more for Arsenal, especially against the block, like Jay just said.
But when you think of what they spent in the summer and the players they've brought in, surely they've got enough reinforcements there to be flexible with the system. And I mean Mikel Arteta in particular. Yeah,
I think Madueke has been a good signing, although he's a bit struggling as well for goals and assists in the Premier League, even including back towards the end of last season. Martinelli is another good option on the left-hand side with Trossard. Eze can play there too. So there's just a lot of variation that you can bring. It's still not clicking for some of them yet because maybe also the control that Mikel Arteta wants in games kind of prevents a little bit his attacker maybe to have the freedom and the flair that they can put.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, similar to Pep, isn't it? You know, that control, that standing in your positions and moving the ball quick. I think you do lose that little bit of freedom where players can sort of like just go and roam and try and create chances like that.
And how frustrating do you think it is for the Arsenal fan base that you look at the likes of what they did in Europe and then in that first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final against Chelsea, but it's not happening in the league, the draw against Liverpool and then more recently against Nottingham Forest?
I guess it depends. The draw against Forest, for example, I think the expected goals is just under 3. This is a game where they should score 2 or 3 goals easily. It's just not happened. We saw the Martinelli miss earlier. Gyökeres there probably should do better. There's the header, I think that's the header from Saka. That
unbelievable save, we've got to say, yeah.
If you didn't create all those chances and the game was really static and slow and you could not break anything, then you could be worried. I think I know it's disappointing to drop 2 points in a game like this, but the performance was positive, I thought. Yeah,
on a different day, you'd have scored 2-3 goals. And I think that's the pleasing thing. When you create chances and you miss chances, you know, on reflect, when you review it back, you know, and as players and, you know, and staff, you look at it and you think, OK, on another day you would have scored 3 goals. Because they created chances, some unbelievable saves there as well.
Yeah, so a quick reminder of how they look in the league. So it's 4 wins in their last 6. And then, as we just mentioned, it was a point apiece for them against Liverpool and then the same away at Nottingham Forest. I guess the pleasing thing for them is that they're now back at the Emirates. They had 4 games away from home in 4 different competitions. They are unbeaten there. Is that a case of, I'm not sure, more confidence this season, or do you think it's just something that's been quietly building over the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, I think it's been building the atmosphere at the ground to start with. In Europe and in the league, it's really become a fortress where they're already very good defensively. This is the best team defensively in Europe. They're the best team out of possession in Europe as well. So not just not conceding goals, but you have the ball, it's okay, but they're so well drilled, so well organised that you can't go through anywhere.
Yeah.
So for that, I think the Emirates has been a special place. And yeah, the fans make it special too. And I think when you've got that kind of momentum, I know it's not always perfect the way they play, but when you've got that kind of momentum, being at home, you could face anybody. And Liverpool was a good game. It was a game where they wanted the control and they were happy to take that draw. But if they start coming at you, it's hard for you to get away from that pressure.
Yeah, do you want to add anything to that on the fortress that is the Emirates?
It is a fortress. You know, they're so good at home, and so they should be with the players that they've got. But I just feel like at the beginning of the season, if you would have said at this stage of the season, you know, was it 7 points head? You know, they would have said, they would have taken that 100%.
Well, of course, Arsenal look like the favourites on paper in this game, as did Manchester United last week. Manchester City, rather, against Manchester United. So let's turn our attention to the Red Devils because, of course, they're in this new manager bounce, if we can call it that, with Michael Carrick coming back to the game. If we look at just how dominant they were, again, I mentioned the fact that they weren't the favourites going into this. What do you think he was able to change in such a short space of time to get all 3 points?
But you know what you get? I think naturally when a new manager comes in, that first game, you know, for West Ham, closer to the goal. I think when you have that sort of quality, and even when you look at this goal, I see a lot of teams, and I've been involved in it myself, where you know you get like a 3v2 and players always make the wrong decision, or you see it in training. That's like a training goal.
Yeah.
Players make the wrong decision. The way to pass. The option by passing to Mbeumo on his left foot to finish first time. I mean, for me, playing in the 10th position that's his best position.
What did you see that was different about this side then, Julian?
So I completely agree with Jay. The Bruno's new position, his best position, but being back there plus Kobe Mainoo. But I think also the change of system. One of the reasons why Ruben Amorim is not there anymore is because of that rigidity about his system and the back three and all of that, where clearly things were not too bad. They were fifth in the table when they sacked him.
Yeah.
But it was not what that team needed anyway. So to go back to the 4-2-3-1 were great. Casemiro in that position, Bruno, as we said, and then doing simple things. Defensively without the ball, they were hard to break down. They double up really well on each wings. So Doku, and as we can see here, Ahmad and Dalot on the right-hand side against Doku and O'Reilly and Ake. On the other side, it was Dorgu, who's a left-back really, or left wing-back, with Shaw doing the same.
Even the atmosphere in the stadium.
Yeah.
I remember going there years ago, and that's what it was like. It's a difficult place. When they're playing well, and I don't care how good you are, when you're put under pressure and you're having to like, keep your head down, and you know you've got players close to you, and they're protecting the middle. And I like to say the touchline's your best friend. So as soon as the ball goes wide, make contact. And that's what they'd done. It was such a good performance.
And the intensity as well to win the duels, which we haven't seen enough of under Amorim, probably because the system again was a bit probably difficult for the players to manage. But when you've got that intensity, when you're aggressive, when you're on the front foot, even with only 30% of the ball, because that's what they had in the end, it's enough. You're playing transition, you've got the players for it, you've got so much space up front, Ahmad, Dorgu, and Mbeumo. It's just perfect.
Speaking of Amorim, I don't think we can be too hard on him because in this exact fixture earlier in the season, they actually had a decent game. They had 7 shots on target. Arsenal aren't an easy team to go at. So what do you think will be their biggest threats in this game at the Emirates?
I think Carrick would pick the same team. And in a way, we'll have the same tactics as he had at Old Trafford last weekend. So the block doesn't have to be too deep and they will be aggressive in the right areas. Yeah. So when they feel like pressing, they all go and somebody like Bruno triggers the press or Mbeumo and everybody goes. At times they'll be much deeper and it'd be hard for Arsenal to go wide. As we said, they're a team that goes wide, but we expect the same double up from the 2 fullbacks and the 2 wide players for United. So that's the kind of the game I see, and they will play in transition, and Arsenal's race defence will have to be very good. Gabriel and Saliba will have to be very strong, and Zubimendi probably even more importantly to break down whatever Bruno is trying to do in front of those 2. So it'd be very interesting tactically to do. But I thought Amorim had improved that team, to be fair, compared to last season. Yes. There's a lot of metrics where they were better in terms of shots and chances created and things like that. Carrick, by just being a bit more simplicity, I think has helped this team massively.
Yeah.
And we speak of Carrick. We spoke off the camera about his incredible record against top managers.
Crazy,
because he'd already beaten Mikel Arteta back in 2021. Pep Guardiola just last week. He's beaten Klopp and even Unai Emery when Emery was in Spain. Do you think he can do it again at the weekend, Shady?
Well, I hope so.
What, to
I only said that because you're Arsenal fan,
yeah.
No, but I mean, it's nice. Obviously, I played with Michael at West Ham. We started at West Ham together, obviously Spurs in England. Good guy, young coach. It's nice to see young coaches getting opportunities. But, I mean, listen, it depends how they approach it. It'd be interesting to see.
OK, well, we'll see. We don't have long to wait. That's coming on Sunday. So after the break, Derail